Now, to control our animations here so that when we interact with our keyboard, our character is going to move, to do our visual scripting, we have to go to our blueprint. So yeah, open up your blueprint if you haven't done that. So if you haven't done that yet, and go to the event graph right here. So you're gonna see there are two nodes here. You have the event blueprint update animation and the try get pawn owner. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is set up our speed. Okay, so we could go ahead and click here on this try get pawn owner, and then you could go ahead and click and drag where it says return value. Click and drag, and let's go ahead and look for velocity. Get velocity. All right, there you go. Click on it. And then we could go to our return value, click and drag, and vector length. So this is going to be the length of our speed right here. And then we could go, you see that we have the variable speed here that we have created in our idle walk run state. So we have to go ahead and drag that. Go ahead and click and drag this over here, and make sure you set it to speed. Set speed. There you go. And now we could go ahead and connect our return value vector length onto the speed, and then we have to connect our set here to our event blueprint update animation right there. Okay, now this is going to be controlling our speed here, which is very important. Next up is going to be for our jumping. So to control our jumping and to create visual scripting for it, we could go ahead and click and drag where we have our return value, click and drag here, and let's type in get movement component right here. So get movement component, and then we could go ahead and click and drag our return value and type in is falling. Okay, there you go. And then last but not least is going to be our is jumping. Let's go ahead and drag our variable is jumping over here, and let's go ahead and set that to set. And then let's go ahead and make our connection. So let's go ahead and drag this from return value onto our jumping right here, and then let's click this and set it to our set speed. Okay, so this is gonna be our jumping right here. Get movement is gonna get our character movement, and then it's going to see if our character is on the ground, and if we press our space bar, it's going to set it to jumping. It will allow our character to jump. Okay, so once that's all done, click compile and then hit save, and yeah, go ahead and just X out your blueprint right here. Now there is another important thing that we need to do here in order for us to have our character run and walk and all those animations. I need you guys to go to your content browser and just hold on, let me just pull this up. Okay, so if you scroll down, you should have this. If you have created your project and you made sure that you have your starter content, you have made sure that you chose third person, then oh god, that's way too large. You should be able to see the third person folder here. So I want you guys to go inside that third person folder. Oops, that's the start content. Third person. And then I want you guys to go to the blueprints folder. Okay, so right now we have the character blueprint, which is I think the robot lady. So if we drag this on our scene and we press play, you're going to be able to control this lady. You're going to be able to have her move around, jump up and down and all that, okay? And we don't want to use this lady. We want to actually use our character that we made. So we could just go ahead and double click in there. So now we're inside it. We're going to have to do something about this event graph, okay? So it might be overwhelming right now, just like looking at it, but really all we have to do is just a few things here, okay? So first things first, we need to go ahead and right click right below here. So make sure you're on the event graph. There are two tabs here, viewport, construction script, and event graph. Make sure you're in the event graph, right click here, and we're gonna go ahead and type in left shift. Okay, so left shift, and I'll tell you what this is after we create a node. Now we could go ahead and find our character movement, which is gonna be this right here. We have to click and drag that here, okay? Click and drag that character movement down here, okay? And then we have to go ahead and click and drag from our character movement up to here, and let's go ahead and type in set walk max walk. Yeah, go ahead and look for set max walk speed. Click on that. All right, and then we have to click and drag again and put set walk max speed again. There you go. And then we could go ahead and set the max walk speed here to 600. And you see the left shift. Remember, in order for you to run, right, we want to hold the shift key on our keyboard. We want to press down the shift key, right? And when we press the shift key, correct, we want our character to run. So remember, the maximum walk speed in our blank space, the maximum speed is 600, which is going to allow our character to run. 300 is basically walking, and 0 is the idle. So knowing that, when we hold the shift key, when we press it down on our keyboard, we actually want it to run. We want it to be at 600 speed. So let's go ahead and click and drag it onto the, right here. Okay, make sure you drag it right here so you see the check sign. And then when it's released, when we are not holding the shift key, we actually want it to be just walking, all right? So remember, in our blend space where we have our idle, walk, and run, idle is at 0 value, walking is at 300 value, and 600 is at running value. So here, since when we release the shift key and we just want our character, let's go and connect it here, we just want our character to walk, let's set the maximum walk speed to, if you guessed it right, yep, 300, because that's how we have set our blend space. And yeah, so we got that. And make sure, another thing, let's go ahead and compile and save it. Okay. Another thing is, let's go click on where it says character movement here, and then on the details tab here on the search, let's type in max walk. Okay, so the max walk speed is set at 500. So remember, for our max walk speed, when we created in the blend space, we set it at 600. So let's just go ahead and do it. I set that at 600, it would be great. Okay, now that everything's set up here, yeah, I'm just going to go and compile, save in case something happens. Just really on that. Okay, now let's go to our viewport here. All right, so right now we see this lady. Okay, nothing wrong with the robot lady. Very nice. I love this character. Nice design. But we want to use our character, right? So to be able to use our character, go ahead and click on that lady. All right, click on that. And right now, if you still see that there's no results because it's filtered, just make sure you exit this out. You shouldn't type anything there. Just exit that out. So yeah, click on the lady. So now you should see the options for this. So you're going to see under the mesh rollout, you're going to see skeletal mesh asset. It's using the SKM Quinn Simple. We don't want to be able to use our character. So let's just go click here and find our character. So in my case, it's called Tipo Skeletal Mesh. I'm going to click on that. All right, so now we could actually see our character there. Very nice. I'm just going to go ahead and drag so I can look at it this way. And of course, we want to actually use our animation blueprint. Right now, for the type of blueprint that's being used, it's using the Quinn C, which is the robotic lady blueprint. We want to use our own blueprint. Let's click here. And this is a lot. You could type it in here so you could search for your blueprint, but I found it right here. Mine is called Michael_BP for blueprint. I'm going to click on that. And there you go. You can see that the character is breathing, which is exactly what we need. And he's moving, right? Let's go ahead and compile and save. Okay. Now we can just go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and X that out. And let's test this out. Let's go ahead and test this out. So we could go ahead and press play, and there is our character. And it looks like he's running, and he's not supposed to run, so there's something that we gotta do here. If you have guessed it right, let me show you what I've done wrong. He's not supposed to run right away. Let's go back to our BP third-person blueprint. So go to third-person blueprint, go to third-person blueprint here. Let's go inside it again, maximize it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my character movement. If you figure out the problem, good for you. But go to your character movement and let's type in max walk speed. Okay, so we want to start out when we press the up arrow on our keyboard, we want to start out with walking, okay? So we want to start out at the walking value, which is not 600, it's 300, okay? So there you go. And I'm going to go ahead and compile and save. And I'm going to go ahead and maximize that and check again. I'm going to press play. All right, there you go. Now he is walking. And if I hold shift, he is running. If I go and press the space bar, he's jumping. Jumping, very nice. And you can see it looks like he's floating on the ground, but he's floating up on the ground, but there is a way to fix this. And when we put him in the actual environment that we like, we are going to adjust that. And you could see that the hair is not there, his beard is not there and everything. So how do we make it so that we are able to have our character here, or our groom needs to follow the hair. We need to bind the groom hair to our character mesh here. How do we do that? I'll show you. To bind our hair to our skeletal mesh, let's go to our third person here. Double click inside it. Okay. And then let's go to our viewport. Gonna zoom in. So right now there is no hair, as you can see. We could go to our components tab here and go to where it says mesh. Click on that. All right, so that's the mesh of our character. You see where it says add right here? Just click on add. And then we're gonna go ahead and search for groom. On the search component, just type in GROOM, and there it is. And then just click on groom. All right, great. So now you can see that the groom should be parented to the mesh of our character. Okay, very important. So if you go ahead and click on that arrow, you can tell it's parented there, right? Now we could go select our groom now, select that, and you could see the properties for our groom here, right? Right now, it's on the groom asset, there is none, and we have to set this to our hair groom. So in my case, if I go to my characters, go to my character folder here, right? Go to my, hold on. You go to my character folder here, and then go to my hair. Okay, so this is the name of my hair groom that I have on my character. And let me go back to this. So knowing that, we have to go to our groom right here, in the groom asset, go to none, and then just go ahead and find the name of your groom. So for mine, I named it here. I'm gonna go click on that, and you can see it is right there. It's supposed to be in position on his head, but the thing is, he is kind of slouched like this because he is in that animation idle pose. But this is the reason why we need to bind our hair to the skin. Okay, so we just made it appear there, the groom, but in order for us to make sure that it's actually binded, let's go to groom here. We have to scroll down, right? We have to go to our binding asset, and you see where it says none. We have to create a binding for our groom hair here. And to do that, I'll show you how to do that. But first, let's go ahead and just compile and save. Okay, we go ahead and minimize this. Let's go back to our hair groom here. Right click, and then click on create a binding. And a very important thing that you need to do here where it says target skeletal mesh. Okay, so just go over here in the drop down arrow there where it says none, and you have to choose your skeletal for your character, which is, in my case, is the T-pose, basically the name of the Mixamo, the way you downloaded from Mixamo, the T-pose. So I'm going to go T-pose skeletal mesh right there and hit create. Okay, and you can see here, targeted mesh, T-pose, great. And let's go ahead and save that and exit that out, and could minimize this. Now you could see that we have, not only do we have a hair groom here, but we have the hair T-pose binding. All right, so let's go back to our third person. And then we could go to our binding asset right here where it says none. Click on there, and we're gonna have to find that hair binding that we have made. So in my case, it's called hair T-pose binding. Click on that. All right, so now you can see that's perfectly binded onto our character skin. Let's go and compile and save it. And then let's go ahead and minimize this and press play. We should be able to see that it is on there. And what we could do is we could play around. You could see that he already has his beard and his eyebrows there, but we want to see it up close. We could go to our third person controller, third person blueprint here, and we could adjust our camera. So I'm going to go to my camera, which is going to be this blue camera right there. And what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and just move it up. Move it up. And then I'm going to go and slowly just rotate it like this. I'm going to go to my move tool and move it down and then move it up. I just want it slightly closer to him. Yeah, maybe something like that. If you don't want the snap turned on, you could go and turn off the snap. I'm going to turn off snap right here so I could rotate without snapping. Go to move. And then go ahead and do this. Okay, and I'm going to go compile, save, and see how that looks like. I'm going to press play. Okay, I think I'm going to go and it's looking way above, so I'm going to go and adjust it again. Maybe I'm going to go ahead and just move it down. I'm going to go and turn off enable disabling here also. Turn off snapping through there. Go. Yeah, something like that. So it's closer. And if we want to see more of his features, what we could also do is we could go ahead and click add, and maybe we could add a light, a point light in front of him so we could see more of the hair. So I'm going to go add a point light. I'm going to go to my move and just gonna move it like right in front of him. And I'm gonna move it up like this, like this. And maybe we want to parent it to the character. We could just click and drag the point light onto the character. So it's going to be parented to that. So wherever the character goes, that light will follow. This is just as a test. I'm going to remove this later when we put our character in the actual environment. I'm going to make sure that doesn't have that. I'm going to go ahead and compile, save. Just a test so I could see the hair better. And let's go ahead and press play. Okay, and you can see, yeah, you can see indeed that the hair is there. Okay, you can see the beard, you can see our hair for the head, everything is there, right? Okay. All right, yeah, you can see everything. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and bring down, I think it's too specular, so I think I'm gonna go back and bring down the light intensity. So I'm gonna go to my light here. The intensity is at 5,000. Maybe I can set it to 3,000. Go. And press play. There you go. So it's less intensity, but you still see it. It looks like he has flashlight on, and if I go to my character that's here in Tipo, you can see it looks like he's glowing. You can just see that it looks like he has a light in front of him. You could really see that, which is not natural, but yeah, as I mentioned before, this is just a test. So we could go and jump. Whoop, whew. He's not jumping high enough. You could actually adjust how high you want your character to jump. You could go and do that. To adjust your height of how high you want your character to jump, just go back to the third person and go to your components here and go to the character movement right here, right? Character movement, click on that. And then on the details right here, you could go ahead and scroll down until you see character movement, jumping and falling, and where you see jump Z velocity. By default, it's 700. So let's say I want him to jump higher. I'm gonna put something out of this world. I'm gonna put 1,200, compile and save, and we go ahead and take a look. So you're able to adjust how high he's gonna jump. If I go and jump, woo, he is jumping very high. So I'm gonna go and jump again. Ooh, gosh. I'm gonna go ahead and jump. Having a hard time jumping to a platform, but let me go and try again here, and I'm gonna go ahead and jump. There you go. Finally did it. Okay, and as I mentioned before, it looks like his feet is not really on the ground, right? So to adjust that, we could go to back to our third person controller. It's gonna be pretty easy. All you gotta do is select your character and just move him down slightly. That's all we really need to do. Move him down slightly. Compile, save. And now if we go back and press play, you should see that he's on the ground now. See that? And I think that the camera is a little bit too high. I'm gonna go ahead and just gonna bring it down like this, and then just maybe kind of rotate it like that and down. File, save. Takes a lot of tweaking to get the type of view that you want. Yeah, I think I kind of like this view. Might adjust it later on. But I think this is good enough. Hit escape. Alright, and that's how you bind the hair. One last thing that we need to fix though is, I think, the shininess of the head. You can see it looks like there's a big specular on the head. You can see it looks like there's just a tiny little moon there, and I don't like that moon on his head. So we have to adjust that, okay? The roughness on that is just way too high. Okay, so we could go back. If you want to do this, you want to get rid of it, go back to Substance Painter. All right, go back to Substance Painter, and we could go to our material, our texture for our skin. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and create a brand new layer, a fill layer. Okay, and for that fill layer, we could go to our properties, fill, and the roughness. This is how tight the highlights are. I could bring it all the way up, and you could see if I have it all the way up, there's no more shine, which is exactly what I want for the head. And of course, we just want it on the head area. We don't want it to completely go away on the face. So we have to go ahead and right click on our fill layer, and let's go ahead and add black mask. And I'm gonna go ahead and right click and add paint. And then we could just paint out the areas where we don't want any shine. And I'm gonna go ahead and rename this layer. I'm gonna call it No Shine. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead. Ooh, we don't want any color there, so let's go back to our thumbnail here and make sure that you only have rough turned on. I'm gonna hold Alt, click on rough, and I'm gonna go back to paint right here. And yeah, go start painting the areas that you don't want any shininess. I'm gonna crank up my brush size, and yeah, just paint this area out right here. And I have symmetry turned on as I'm doing this. And all this here, get rid of all that shine. There you go. You can also hold Shift and right click to navigate our lighting, our HDRI. That way we could see better exactly where we need to paint this. So I'm just thinking about the hair that's on here and then just painting around those areas. Painting around the areas of the hair. Taking my time on it. Yeah, like around here I definitely see some highlights here when I was moving the character around, and yeah, I don't want that. Don't want any of those. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead, hold Shift, and just right click and move it all around. Alright, and I think this is it. It's pretty good. No shininess in the head from what I could tell. Okay, so that should look more natural in Unreal. So let's go ahead and export this out again. I'm going to export textures. And I only need to export out the one that I manipulated, this texture right here. And I'm going to go ahead and export. And let's go back to our Unreal. Go back to where we have our textures. And then you have to go to your metallic roughness occlusion texture, which would be, it looks like an orangey or slightly orangey, reddish, greenish color combination here, just right click and make sure that you re-import it. I'm going to go and re-import, and you can see what happened to the hair area. It just turned yellowish, and that's great. Now I'm going to go ahead and press play to see what we have. Alright, so now if I go ahead and move around, you don't see any more moon on the back of his head. You see, we used to see like a little small moon just shining, and this is a lot better. So much better and a lot more natural. Alright, and you could hit escape on your keyboard. Okay, great. In the next video, we are going to put him in a very nice environment so it looks more like a game. See you guys in the next video.